This is Roger Boyd of Head East, and you are tuned to DC and the Barside Jive, the rockinest piece of video you'll ever see. Ended up like that. We were on a Rock Legends cruise, and we got off. In fact, we couldn't land. We couldn't port at one of the down in Jamaica, and we weren't sure we were going to get back. And we got back March 3rd, and everybody got off the boat, and that was it. That was the end of everything.
Really?
We were done. But at least we finished up good. We were. Roger Daltrey was on the, performing, and Roger Hodgson and Nancy Wilson, Don Fowler, and Warner from the Grand Funk. I mean, that was wild. And the thing that was neat about that cruise, that Native American cruise, is on a lot of the cruise ships, you buy the package to see the bands.
Right.
And not everybody on the boat, if you don't buy the package ahead of time, you can't see the bands. You can't buy the ticket the day of the show.
Right.
On the Rock Legends cruise, all you do is go to hear the bands. And from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, everybody plays 3 different stages.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And that's what you do. And wow, what a great time that was.
I think Mike Reno told me the same thing, and somebody else mentioned that cruise.
Well, it's the best. I mean, it was just, you couldn't beat it, and had some killer blues acts too that I wasn't quite as familiar with. But I mean, you just went from one show to the other.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
It is. I'd do it again. It's so quick in a heartbeat that they really liked us. So, obviously they're shut down now. They've canceled this year and canceled, I think. Yeah. I don't even know if they're going to try to do next, but we're hoping we get to do it again. It was.
Oh, yeah. Now, how long are you on that boat?
5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
But you do 3 shows, is what you do. You do one on the top deck, and then you do one in a big theater, and then they have another smaller theater that you do. And everybody does all the bands do each 3 venues. So
over a 5-day time period, you do 3 shows.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Did you guys have more time to interact with the other artists?
We did. Some of the artists were, good and really sociable, and we knew from playing with before.
Right.
And then some of like Daltrey was great. We were hung around backstage with him after one of his performances for a while. Hodgson pretty much stayed to himself. I mean, some of them, some of the folks were great. Jimmy Hall was killer, and from Wet Willie days, and Artemis Pyle there, of course. Back at Skeerman. I mean, so a lot of the artists did, but some of the artists not so much. But you had to do a meet and greet. That was mandatory for everybody.
Okay.
And so the fans got a line up, and you had to put yourself out there for at least an hour, and then we all ate together. So a lot of times you chatted with people at lunchtime, lunch or supper.
Now, was the meals, was that exclusive just to you guys, the performers?
We all ate separate from the rest of the boat.
Yeah.
And we had our own section where we ate, but I'm assuming the food was wonderful for everybody. But yeah, we had our own, otherwise people would have bothered you around the clock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So at the shows, they'd like for you to stick around a little bit after performance, although a lot of times, big fans would stay for you, but then a lot of people will be checking their schedule. Who's playing that? But, you know, and then meet and greet. A lot of people stuck around, you know, for a long time, wanted autographs and picture, you know, everybody got to take pictures, et cetera, et cetera. But it was just the best.
Well, good. Well, let's hope that you get back on that.
Oh, we're working on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm doing a bar side chat and you're doing a fireside chat. You got that fireplace behind you.
Yeah, well, I'm out here on the farm when people talk about social distancing. I said, yeah, we're social distancing. We don't have a neighbor within a quarter of a mile out here because we got 250 acres.
You're always social distancing.
Yeah, and especially with the COVID. I mean, it's been tough, but at least we can get out and do some stuff around the farm and catch up on work that I haven't gotten done because I was out on the road all the time. But yeah, we're big time social distancing.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Normally I'd be skiing this week. This is my week, one of my weeks in Tahoe.
Oh, is it?
We do December, January, February, and then one in first of April. We do 4 weeks a year out skiing.
Wow. Yeah.
The nice thing about being older and the fact that touring's different. Now, you know, you don't play as much in winter. Nobody hardly plays in the winter anymore.
Right.
Who wants to do that?
Right. Well, you don't if you don't have to.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I told people, I said, my last slide off the interstate on a tour bus, my last slide off the interstate.
Oh, yeah, right. That's scary.
Very. I thought we were going to roll. By the grace of God, did we not?
Dude, I think we've lost more performers, more artists to motorcycle, airplane, bus crashes than we have to drugs. Or probably just as many.
As many, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, welcome back to Barside Jive. It is that time where I introduce my guest. And today it is Roger Boyd, best known as a founding member of the legendary classic rock band Head East, and has been its keyboardist and leader for the past 5 decades. Roger is the only remaining original member of that band. And Roger, it is so great to have you here today.
It's great to be with you, DC. And not only that, but it's great to have passed 5 decades in the same band. Not many people can do that.
They can't, right? Wow, that's very true. That's very true. Okay, I'm going to start off and ask you, were you really a Carlisle Indian?
Yes, I was.
Population.
I don't know if they've had to change their name yet in these days or not.
Oh.
But I was a Carlisle Indian many years from 1963 to 67. And I was a University of Illinois Fighting Illini.
Wow. Oh, that's right. You're college educated. Actually, you're more than that. I need to be calling you doctor.
That's correct. Doc Rock, some of my good buddies call me Doc Rock all the time.
Do they really?
Yeah, I was really blessed because actually when I first went to college, I was going to go because I wanted to be a college professor. So I was going to get my PhD and be a professor. And I was just playing rock, you know, on the weekends to augment scholarship and everything. And I thought, boy, I sure as heck like this a lot better than studying trigonometry and chemistry and all that. And at that time, there was a lot of social upheaval and change going on in the United States. And we were right in the middle of it at Rockin'. And Champaign, Illinois, where the university is, had a rock and roll scene that was really close to what was going on in San Francisco. We had about 4 or 5 clubs where people could play 6 nights a week. And you started out doing cover stuff and then gradually started working your own stuff in. So us and REO and Dan Fogelberg are the 3 biggest that came out of that scene.
Wow.
Yeah, it was special. So you rehearsed all day long, and then if you weren't playing tonight, you went check out what everybody else in town was doing.
Wow, very cool. Very cool. Well, you know, I was curious where Carlisle was. You know, I've made a trip to actually Rockford to have an interview with Bunny Carlos.
Oh, with Bun? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was curious where Carlisle was. Had a look on a map. Population like 3,000, very small town.
Well, I'll tell you a better one. I live right outside of Houston. Houston, Illinois, population 56. Salute.
Oh, really?
Named after my great grandparents.
No
back in
way.
the old days, and it was a watering stop for the coal burning railroads.
No way.
Back in 1835, my family homesteaded this ground in 1835, and
Wow.
married one of the Houstons. And so great grandma and grandpa Houston started the town. So I tell people a lot of times, I go, I live in Houston. They go, oh man, Texas. And I go, no,
Yeah.
Houston, Illinois. And they go, what?
I fix to say, I'm going to drive down. We're going to get a selfie.
There you go. There
No,
you go.
I'm not going to drive up to Houston today. But when you first said Houston, I thought, he's not in Texas.
But everybody in Houston got to vote. Illinois.
That's right. That's right. You know, boy, that's a big difference, the size of our Houston and your Houston.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of the towns, you know, these small towns, and we're seeing it even today. One of the things about touring on the road for 5 decades is so many things have been and have gone. Like you were talking about, we were talking about the old Dallas Alley down there in the West End, and some of the great concert clubs, the Rainbow, all the Savvy's clubs that were in Texas, for all you Texas listeners, and you know, the Rainbow Electric Ballroom, Kane's Ballroom, Tulsa, Electric Ballroom, Atlanta, the Rainbow in Denver, Winterland. I mean, some of the really killer rock clubs, you know, hold 1,000, 1,500, where a lot of us played before we went to the, you know, then the stadium shows became big.
Have you ever gone back to your high school as an adult?
Well, I just had my 50th class reunion a few years back.
Wow.
And I mean, yeah, I did as an adult. When we were popping, when we first popped in 75, you know, and Flat came out, and we were big. I mean, I went back and spoke in front of the assembly halls and stuff in my old high school.
Oh, cool.
High schools in the area.
Yeah.
But we just had my 50th. You know, you always look at those pictures in the newspaper of people that are having their 50th class reunion. You go,
yeah,
man, those people look old. I saw her picture and I went, oh, holy cow. Now it's us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, when I went back, which has probably been 20 years ago, it was like, what happened to the hallways? They've shrunk.
Oh yeah, real
like,
small.
What the hell is going on? You know, it was like an amusement in a theme park. It was like, wow. But you know, the halls everything looks so small. And I guess, you know, because we were a little bit smaller than we are today.
Well, not only that, but you just get out. I mean, touring, one of the great things, you know, with Head East is we were all, like you said, Carlisle, you know, about 3,000. We all came from town. There was only, Mike Somerville was the only guy that came from a bigger town.
Yeah.
All of us came from towns of less than 3,000.
Yeah.
And to be able to travel all over North America, and especially the United States, and play everywhere in all these big cities, I mean, you can't hardly afford to do that. People were paying us to do that, and we're having a blast. And
right.
Once you travel all over the place, then all of a sudden it's a big world.
Yeah.
With a lot of difference. And back then, the neat thing is you never had Tex-Mex unless you went to Texas.
Right. Right.
And you never had crawfish unless you went to New Orleans and Louisiana down on the Delta. And
right.
Now, of course, they fly stuff around. It's all different now.
Yeah.
But in those days, you couldn't wait to get to the different places for all the different foods and the different kind of things they had, and the different kind of people. The cultures were really neat, different cultures. So that's always been really special with Head East, and the fact that we really liked playing live better than we liked working in the studio. I mean, live was always it for us.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You guys do put on a great live show. Well, going back to your early days, were you like growing up involved in sports? And there's a reason I'm asking this, in like junior high and high school, or was like your focus already on music?
Oh, I was never focused on music.
Never.
I just did music because it was fun. I like I said, I was going to go to college and be a professor. I dropped out of college in 1970 to just play music because I go, this is great. We started at Head East in August of '69 and we took off like a rocket.
Right.
And you know, then we had changes of bands for a while, and then I got Steve and John back in after they graduated. They wanted to finish school. I didn't want to keep going to school. I wanted to rock. But I had never planned on doing that. I was going to be an engineer, and you know, I had a big scholarship. Went over really big with my family when I dropped out of school to play rock, and looked like you did back then.
Oh boy, I know. I bet they had a fit.
But I played sports. Yeah, I was played basketball and baseball. I was a pretty good athlete. I wouldn't have been able to be pro. I wasn't big enough. But yeah, I played sports. But academics was it. But I didn't go back to college until '95.
Okay.
And then I finished my bachelor's and did my master's, like boom, 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 and right on to my PhD, and then started teaching. So I taught for about 13 years at the university. So I got to live two dreams. One I never dreamed about in the first place, which is being a rock star, and then the other one's being a college professor. So really blessed in that department.
You know, I know there's, you know, a number of people that start off, you know, music's their thing from age 5, you know, right. And then there's some that, well, like your current, I believe, lead guitarist, he had a college scholarship to play baseball, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was Glenn Bridger, and he got injured, but he was pretty talented. He was pretty a little short scutter, you know, shortstop, second baseman kind of guy. Right. And he had a college scholarship to play baseball. Then he got injured, but yeah, so he ended up in music, and I don't know if he really thought about being music or he just played. I'll have to ask him. That's an interesting question, but I think he was focused on being an athlete. Yeah, what was his deal? But I mean, people said, "Oh, I bet you dreamed about playing music and that all your life." And I go, "No," but I started playing piano and trumpet in the 4th grade. We had 5 kids, and we all learned to play the piano and played one other instrument. You know, once I was the oldest, so once we had a piano, everybody had to learn. But my sister got she got her master's in music, but I wasn't one of those that I had to do music or the world was at an end. Yeah, I chose it because I just love it. Was just, and I still do. I just loved it more than anything.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It just developed over time.
Yeah, yeah. Jimmy Vaughn told me a story about, you know, he started off, you know, wanted a girlfriend, and his buddy said, "You got to play football if you want a girlfriend." So he went out for the football team, and during tryouts, he caught the first pass that was thrown to him and got tackled. Broke his shoulder, separated his shoulder, wound up sitting at home with you know, he was all bandaged up, couldn't go to school, couldn't do anything. His parents got him a guitar. And that's how he got his start.
And the girlfriend thing worked its way out pretty well for him.
I think it did. I think it did.
Oh, I'm sure it did back in those days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, Roger, as a teenager, did you guys like hang out in St. Louis because it was so close, or did you guys drive all the way up to Chicago?
Neither. We actually, well, we were up in Chicago some, but amazingly enough, even though St. Louis kind of adopted us because we all grew up within 50 miles of St. Louis, right. 60 miles of St. Louis, but we never played St. Louis until we were national, until the album came out and we were a national act. We played East, we played Indianapolis, and we played all the big colleges. See, the college scene was huge back then. And so we played all the different college clubs in Illinois and in Indiana. And then when we were Head East, we weren't teenagers though anymore. Right. But we hung out together. I mean, the band, because my parents wouldn't let me cruise the A&W root beer stand or anything when we were in high school. But if we had something to do, we could drive the car and go anywhere. So we went to like Mount Vernon and Centralia and did that kind of stuff, which was 30 or 40 miles away. But strangely enough, we never played St. Louis hardly at all in our early days. Oh. So there was a little bit of harumphing from the local bands when we broke out of St. Louis really big, and everybody started calling us St. Louis's own.
Yeah. It sounds like your parents were pretty strict.
No, not necessarily. They just weren't into cruising. As long as we were doing, they liked, going to play the band, which is what we did when we were in Centralia and Mount Vernon and stuff. That was fine.
Right.
So, but they didn't like fiddling time away. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. They wanted you to have a mission.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just want to go
get back to Jimmy Vaughn and the girls. Our mission was rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. They didn't want you loitering on anybody's parking lot.
That's right. That's right. But I don't ever think they were overly strict in that sense of the world. And my mother especially had her master's degree, which is back in the 1950s, was almost unheard of.
Yeah.
So, and her side of the family was pretty well educated. So we were really pushed to be pretty well-rounded, educated, realize there was a bigger world out there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and my dad was a big athlete, so he wanted me to play sports. So he never did get over the fact that I played in the band. He went to his grave waiting for me to get a real job.
Is that right?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Our first big sellout was 10-5 in St. Louis and Kiel Auditorium, and my dad only came to see us play a couple of times. Mom came to see us all the time. Yeah. And right before the show, when Dad walked out on the stage when the crowd was filing in, it was like, wow, pot smoke everywhere. And so when I got ready to run out onto the stage, he slapped me in the butt like I was getting ready to go out and pitch a baseball game.
That's hilarious.
So I don't think he ever did quite get it. And I said, Dad, playing Never Been Any Reasons like hitting a grand slam home run.
Right. God love him.
It's the same rush, hitting that game home run.
Oh, sure.
So, it's that same adrenaline that you get when you are catching that game-winning touchdown pass. Same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they had 5 kids. I mean, they were busy.
that they were, because they didn't start until their 30s. They were older when they started having a family, because my dad was in the war, was in the Pacific. Okay. So he didn't even get out, didn't even muster out until almost 46. So my mom, I think, was 30 when she had me, and so they had to get with the program.
Yeah, and you were the oldest.
I was.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
So, a couple of my brothers, when my one brother played in the band, and then my other brother traveled on the road with us, and then my other brother, when he left the band right before Flat, he came back out, and, he road manages. He still comes out and plays.
Oh, does he?
Jams. Well, we like to have everybody out. Yeah. One of the nicest things is, unfortunately, Mike Somerville just passed away, what everybody calls the original guitar player. Right. And for our 50th anniversary, we got everybody together. We hadn't played since April 20th in 1980. And Dan Birney had already passed, but we played 4 shows. Mike didn't make the 5th. And we hadn't played, all of us hadn't been together since 1980.
Wow.
Mike hadn't even seen John and Mike hadn't even seen each other for almost 4 years. Now, Steve, he still played longer, and then he'd come out and play with us from time to time, and John. But so that was pretty magical, and it was really special. We got to do it before Mike passed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Did it feel just so much different than it did in the early days when you guys played together?
That's a tough question. I mean, yeah, in some respects, it was a little different, because what we did, the band I have now, when you were asking about Glenn, with Darren Walker and Greg Manahan and Eddie Jones, they have been with me now 14 years. And this band is the mirror image of the quote unquote original band. Like Darren and John sound exactly almost exactly alike. I mean, I can't always tell the difference. In their mid-range, they're identical. They could be twins. So what we did was we started off and played 5 or 6 songs with everybody. And then the quote unquote original guys went off the stage. And then we did stuff with our Raise a Little Hell CD with the band as it is now. And then we had the original guys come back out and we did Flat as a Pancake cover to cover. And so the excitement and the dynamic between having the guys that cut Flat as a Pancake there and the other stuff, and then having my guys now, because we were their favorite band, one of their favorite bands when they were growing up, all on stage at the same time, and having Glenn Bridger and Mike Somerville playing guitar next to each other, and having Darren and John singing together next to each other was an incredible dynamic.
Oh yeah.
So there was a level of excitement and euphoria that was similar to what we had back in the old days, but it was different because the dynamics were different. Right. But it was really special. And then one of the shows, they made everybody, it was a theater up in Michigan, and they made everybody sit in their seats and they all rushed the stage at the end and overwhelmed the security guards. You know how security guards are, they all split anyway.
Yeah.
And so that was the last show that all of us played together. And that was pretty neat because all the old guys got to remember what it was like when they used to rush the stage, and all my new guys got a feeling for what it's like when that happened. So that
wow, how cool.
So yeah, that was really pretty nifty. So
did you guys have videotape of that performance?
We have some video. Yeah. What I didn't do, which is fine on me, I should have. I really should have set it up to with big cameras to shoot it. But we have Greg G-Man always records everything. So we have some video of it, but we didn't use high-powered cameras. I tell you, the stress and strain, as far as I was concerned, on me, of worrying about how everybody was going to interact when they got together. Yeah. Because a couple of the old guys hadn't seen each other for 40 years. Yeah. And then integrating them with my new guys, because my new guys are the band. I mean, they're the headies a lot of people know and love. I mean, and that. Right. So I had to make sure that they were that everybody was comfortable. Yeah. So I was so focused on making sure that everybody worked well together and everything like that just setting up all that extra stuff was too much. We do have video of everybody together without Mike in the St. Louis area, in St. Charles, Illinois. We played a big, huge blowout there for them with the original guys, and we do have that, but Mike's not on that one. I would have liked to have gotten a really big time camera thing, with Mike, but no, we have smaller video. But yeah, we were hoping he was going to make the one last show, and he couldn't do. His health had just deteriorated too much.
Yeah. He was what, 67?
Yeah, he was way too young.
Yeah.
Way too young.
Yeah, 60s is now the 40s.
Oh, every bit of it.
I mean, really?
No, I mean, it is. I mean, people are living so much longer, and if you're healthy, I mean, my wife and I, we exercise, ride bikes 15, 20 miles almost every day, or run 4 or 5 miles and work out. I'm in better shape now than I was. My doctor, my physical, not too long ago, he goes, "Man, you're better in shape than you were 6 or 7 years ago." And I said, "Good."
Yeah, that's great, man.
But, all us boomers are all of a sudden looking at a lot of sand in the bottom of the glass and go, "Boy, I better cut out some of that stuff I used to do and start trying to work out a little bit so I can stick around a little longer."
Exactly.
And so the 60s, even into the 70s, are still pretty good. You still got good energy, you know, if you've taken care of yourself.
Yeah.
If you hit the mid to late 40s and you haven't started cleaning up some stuff, then it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of that.
Unfortunately, lost way too many good friends and colleagues and peers and people we worked with over the years. Yeah, it's really sad.
Especially in the last 5 years, it seems like just been so many.
Every time you turn around, you've lost
somebody
else. Yeah.
Guys, you are watching Barside Jive with my guest, Roger Boyd of the legendary American classic rock band from Illinois, Head East. Well, Roger, so many talented musicians call Illinois home. A lot of the early Chicago blues artists come to mind: Howlin' Wolf, Willie Dixon, Muddy Waters, Bo Diddley. And then you've got, you know, the big bands, Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, of course, Cheap Trick, REO Speedwagon, and of course, you guys, Head East. Is it just something in the Illinois water that you guys are drinking?
We have a video that's based on St. Louis and talks about the whole music scene when we were breaking out. And they have the promoters that were the big promoters there, which was Contemporary Productions, and the big radio guys, which was KSHE Radio, which was like your KZoo in Dallas.
Right.
Right when FM came on and AOR started breaking out and it got away from top 40. And then the big newspaper writer that reviewed all the concerts, which is Dick Richmond, and then the bands, and it was Head East and Ozark Mountain Daredevils, that were the two biggest in St. Louis, and then Mama's Pride and Pavlov's Dog that didn't quite make it out of the box.
Yeah.
And the video is incredibly well done and interviews everybody, and it's called Something in the Water.
Is it really?
It's called, when you just said that, I about fell out of my chair.
I didn't.
Boy, did DC nail that.
Dude, I didn't even know. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. Where can I find it?
I'll get you a copy.
Okay. Awesome.
I'll get you a copy. I don't know if you can find it because a PBS kind of station did it.
Okay.
It was an independent station, but I'll get a hold of Kathy and see if I can get some copies, or if nothing else, I'll get some copies made off of mine, because it is really, really. Oh, and we had a place called I just slipped my mind. That's tough when you're 72. That was an outdoor venue that was one of the neatest outdoor venues. It's called Mississippi River Festival. And it was one of the all-time neatest outdoor venues, legendary like Red Rocks is today.
Right.
And it was like 5,000, and it was under a big tent, and it was right next to our university. And it all talks about that as well. And that was the beginning of the days of the outdoor festivals. And it was just incredible. So we talked about that. But it's called Something in the Water. But getting back to when I was talking about the college clubs and the ability to play 6 or 7 nights a week,
right?
That is what we had from Chicago down through the college campuses: Champaign, Bloomington, Carbondale, which is where we actually started. That was our first gig at Southern Illinois University. There was enough places to play 6 or 7 nights a week that you could hone your performances and your try out your songs. Because a crowd will let you know pretty quick whether they like it or not.
Oh, well,
whether you need to go back and rework it a couple more times. And so I think that's one of the reasons. Like I said, Champaign, in my opinion, it just wasn't big like San Francisco. We just didn't have a couple big radio stations and enough population.
Right.
But the environment and the atmosphere was really similar to anytime you hear the San Francisco bands talk about what they came out of, you know, back in the days when they were playing the Fillmore and the Dog and all that stuff. It was the same. We had that in Champaign.
Wow.
And so I think that's part of the reason, you know, why you see so many bands. There was just a lot of places to play, and a lot of support. A lot of people were really supported the bands.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'd love to see that, by the way. So
Oh no, I'll be sure and get to
Yeah.
you. Oh yeah, you'll really enjoy it because
Yeah.
it'll kick some of your memories in
Yeah.
as to the evolving music scene coming out of Dallas when Kazoo first just broke on the scene, and talking about back in the days, where we're talking about Dallas Alley and all
Oh
that,
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You'll be able to, and some of the bands that were playing, you'll fill in the people and places you knew, because it's well done. I mean, they spent some time and money on it.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So it was the water.
I think so. It's that Mississippi mud and the Illinois River coming out of Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Hey Roger, can I make an observation?
You can fire away.
Okay. So I've looked at a bunch of your photos.
Okay.
Okay. And you were always like the tallest.
Yes.
You were like the burliest, the biggest guy in the band, it appeared to me, with,
yes.
With all this crazy dark hair and this big beard. And I just got to be honest with you. I just didn't see you sitting at a piano. You look like a freaking drummer.
Well, that's why I played the organ standing up and did all my back bends and everything. I really never was a piano player. I mean, I did some piano stuff. My brother says, "Oh, that's pretty good." And I go, "Nah, I'm a organ guy. I'm an organ guy standing up, doing back bends and throwing my synthesizer over my head." But yeah, I was a pretty burly guy back in those days, which actually, when you were on the road, came in handy from time to time.
Because you didn't have to clean up.
You didn't have to put up with, because when you were a band, you were always from out of town.
Mm.
So that brought its own set of dynamics.
Right.
We played the Western Kansas Fair in Garden City, Kansas, and I'll show you, and a big fair. We're the headliner. 2 days later, we're in Dallas, getting ready to play Dallas Alley or something, and knock on the hotel room door. And I'll throw it open and say FBI. And I'm going, what? And they go, whoa, we found that there was this girl in Garden City was murdered. Her head was cut off when she was out in a cornfield. And guess what? You guys are right at the top of the list of suspects. And I said, oh, great. I said, no, dude. I said, no, we're a pretty harmless bunch. But, out of towners, we were the first, and it took them 18 months to find him. And the guy was local, and he'd run away with the carnival. But I keep wanting to write a book called Band on the Run, and so what I would do is do a historical fiction. So I could do some of the really neat band stories over the year, but I wouldn't have to do them chronologically. I could do them in any order I want.
Right.
And we have to help solve the mystery so that we get off the suspect list. And so, I could talk about playing Dallas Alley, and I could talk about playing in Kane's Ballroom, and I could talk about being at the Rainbow in Denver. And we keep interacting with the carnival at different times. And then we finally help solve the issue. But I don't like to sit at a computer and just write all the time. So I haven't done it, but it's been an idea I've had for a long time.
Oh, dude, you should totally do that.
Yeah, well, I know, but that's just not. I like being on the road.
No, I know, but you've got all this time on your hands now.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I was thinking about that the other day. I was going, Roger, if there was any time you were going to do it right now, it's the time to do it.
Because later on you won't. You'll be busy again. You'll be touring. You'll be back on the road. You'll be live performances, and
I hope so. We've already had to move some stuff early this year. We're really, really hoping to do a few shows in April, but I think it's going to be summertime.
Yeah.
And even then, it's going to be slow going. It's going to take a while to get everything open back up, which is just a bummer. In over 5 decades, I have never had a summer where I wasn't jamming and traveling, rocking.
Oh yeah.
It was a killer. This last year was a killer. I mean, it was a killer.
Yeah, is your wife about ready to kill you?
Well, she's more of a home girl, so she's probably enjoyed it more than I have.
Maybe she likes having you around, Roger. Maybe you're one of the very few.
Yeah, maybe. Well, actually, she's a swag girl. She does the merchandising, so so she likes being out on the road a little bit.
Yeah.
And she likes, there's a lot of nice things, and she gets to meet a lot of nice people that I've got friends scattered. Most people, their friends are right in where they live. Well, my friends are scattered all over, the country, because I was always on the road. So I got friends in Texas and friends in LA and friends in Denver and friends in Chicago. So she's had a chance to meet a lot of people that we've been close to, and they're close to the band for a long time. So it's been fun.
Right. Now, how long have you guys been married?
Well, we got married in 2008, but I was never going to get married again. So I always say, well, we've been married for, let's see, this will be going on 13 years. And I said, and 5 years living in sin. I finally decided to go ahead and get married, but I'd been married a long, long time ago, and the road in marriage just doesn't work out.
Yeah. Is your wife over there telling you not to tell it like that?
No, she chuckles too. I mean, most people, when I say that, they just kind of fall on the floor.
Don't tell people we were shacked up. Of course, the only reason you're saying that now is probably because your parents can't hear.
Oh, they do us shack. My mom do us shack though. Oh. Actually, my mom, I was very blessed, besides getting to get back and do my college dream that looked like it had gone away. My mom actually lived long enough to see me get hooded for my PhD.
Oh, wow.
And she was still alive when I married Rita. We got married in Sedona. Wow. And it was wonderful. So,
yeah.
And
you guys have any kids?
She does.
She does? Okay.
She has 2.
Yeah.
My master's was in social work, and I have very strong feelings, especially being in the music business, about guys that are just sperm banks.
Yeah.
If you're not, if kids aren't your number 1, 2, and almost number 3 priority, I don't think you should. You got to really be into having a family and having kids.
Right.
If you're not really, really into it, then pass. There's plenty of people on the planet. And I had other things I wanted to do, and I'm everybody's favorite uncle, so that works for me.
Yeah.
And I just, that wasn't my top priorities. So
yeah. So you have grandkids?
Yes, 1.
And he or she?
He.
What does he call?
Max. He jumps up and sings with us from time to time.
Does he?
Last summer he was up there singing, and people were coming up and giving him money. So he was sticking in his pants. And he sings pretty decent.
You said, this is a pretty good gig, Papa.
Guys in the band were just falling off the front of the stage.
Yeah. What does he call you?
Papa, of course.
Papa. Yeah. That was right. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool, man. Nothing like having grandkids, man.
I always said, I said, that old saying that people, you hear them say all the time, they go, man, if I'd known grandkids were this good, I'd have passed on having kids in the first place.
Yeah.
So when the grandkid came along, I told everybody, I said, I'll tell you how that works out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, it works out pretty good.
Yeah. So, right.
He comes over and stays with us once a week. And he comes out to some of the shows. He really likes the shows. He likes to rock. But,
yeah.
Like the young kids today, he's really into the computer video games stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He likes getting up. He gets up and belts her out.
Good. Man, we got a new up and coming band member right there, possibly.
Yeah. The music business has changed. They don't have bands like, I once had some people in LA at A&M Records ask me about what's a band? How do you have a band? Because bands basically were a Midwest phenomenon. they're into more so. They're more into solo artists out there. It's easier to deal with. That's why country's so big. Country had it right. You were the entertainer at the front of the stage. You were the songwriter. You guys are the studio musicians. You guys are the road musicians.
Right.
And a band is a whole different beast. And today with the electronics and the rap and this, that, and the other and stuff, you just don't see bands like you used to.
Yeah.
And, you know, a couple problems. Number one, it's hard to do them. Number two, it's hard to get into the business. Radio doesn't play new stuff anymore. There's not enough places to play to get a band together. It's hard to hold a band together. I mean, so you don't see bands. So if he wants to do it, obviously I'd work with him and try and help make something happen. But you just don't see bands.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You put a band around somebody. You put a band around a singer. You know, you take Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift didn't start a band,
right?
And there's some merit. I mean, that system works pretty good because if you're a band and you're out on the road, it's hard to just concentrate on writing all the time. And so if you have the writers right, you know, and also playing live. We played a show with Toto a long time ago. We were all co-headlining in Albuquerque, and great guys. In fact, the one drummer introduced me to Bette Midler. He was working in the studio next to me. Great guys, really talented musicians, but they're not an energetic live band. They're a studio band. And we got done playing and we were sitting around in a bar afterwards. And in Albuquerque, we'd switch every other night who closed. And we played in front of them in Albuquerque. It was a big market for us. I mean, we just smoked. And they're all moaning and groaning afterwards at the bar. And I go, and they're saying something about it. And I said, you know what? I said, you want to be a killer live band? I go, then go out on the road for 150 shows a year. But I said, I wouldn't give up your studio. I said, studio, man, you guys just smoked. Why do you want, that's where your focus is and that's where your success is.
Yeah.
And it's just a different feel, a different thought process. That's why we always liked live so much. And we didn't care for the studio as much. We wanted to get in, cut the record, and get back out on the road.
Right.
Which is probably what we really should have done, but that's okay. We did what we wanted to do. You know, we'd worked hard. We were small town kids and we'd hit records and let's rock.
That's right.
So that's what we did.
All right, Roger, we got a few things in common, my friend.
Probably more than a few, but rock right on. Let's see what we can do for the discussion that we don't have to edit.
But there are some differences. For instance, unlike me, you must have enjoyed your piano lessons.
No.
You didn't?
Not really.
Really?
I mean, they were okay, but no. I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why I wasn't like, oh man, I got to have music more than anything else in the world. I mean, I liked music and I liked playing music, but I didn't really get excited about music until I was in college. And I played trumpet in the university band and one of the symphony bands and in one of the lab stage bands. And that was the first time I really got to play big time symphonies and this, that, and the other with incredible musicians. And boy, I tell you what, and then we started Head East, you know, when the Head East took off, and all the excitement with that. But I never really got excited about music until I was a 4-H'er because of being small town and farmer. And they had a thing called Share the Fun. And my mom had a cooking club, and it was like my 3 brothers and a couple of our buddies. And so at one of our Share the Fun things we all dressed up like hillbillies and we went out on stage, and one guy's playing a jug and I was playing a guitar, and my brother got a little kazoo trombone out of his big trombone case. And we did, you know, some of that kumbaya camp stuff, you know, down in the valley and all that crap.
Right.
And so then we said, oh man, up in the big city, we hear this newfangled music that's really breaking out. And we went into All My Lovin' by the Beatles. And the place, the girls were screaming.
Oh, yeah.
And just going crazy. And I go, man, I like this.
Yeah.
And so out of that's when we first started our first sock hop band.
Wow.
Which eventually became, you know, we did this, did that, did this, and did that, and eventually worked its way into Head East. Wow. But that's when I really got excited about music. But I still remember that day. And I had a coffee can guitar pick, you know, just cut it out of the coffee can lid, so it was real limber, and I'm playing All My Lovin' in there screaming. Couldn't hardly hear what I was playing. It was wonderful.
Wow.
And I never got that excited about piano lessons. I actually like playing the church organ more than I like piano lessons.
Yeah. Well, I hated them. I remember
I didn't hate them, but I wasn't the kind of guy that should have been sitting there playing the piano 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day. And,
you know, my brother loved it.
Really?
He did well. He played. He's not with us any longer, but he
was too bad. Sorry.
Yeah, he was an amazing pianist, and he just loved it. Took off. He could play, you know, piano. He'd play the organ. He was just very talented, very smart kid. Unlike me, he was great in school. You know, I was not. And mom made me take piano. Hated every minute. I could tell you every brush stroke in the painting that hung above that piano. That's what I focused on. But anyway, it was awful.
Did your brother ever end up getting a record deal or being in band? You know, oh, that's too bad.
No, he was in his 30s when he passed away, so he never did pursue it professionally.
Oh, didn't? Okay.
But he was very talented. I mean, he sang semi-professionally.
Oh, did he?
But you know, his life was rather short. He was an amazing pianist, and I loved to hear him play as an adult. Yeah. Not when I was a kid, I hated it. I was like, Mom, tell him to stop. You know, it drive me nuts. It was bad enough when I had to do it, but then he would have to do his, and he enjoyed it. So he played a hell of a lot longer than I did.
Sure, of course.
But there is something that we do have in common.
Okay.
We both like wearing sport coats.
Yes.
Because in a lot of your pictures, you're the only band member in a sport coat.
Yeah, or facsimile. My original pirate kind of look, that was kind of a Crush Velvet thing. But yeah, I wore a sports coat. I mean, I don't know, jackets are nice.
Yeah, I've always thought so too. I don't always wear them, but I do usually in the fall and the winter, like this one here I've got on now. But I noticed that some people, you know, they'll grab a jacket, and it looked like in a lot of those photos, you're the only one that had one on, and I dig jackets. So I thought,
yeah, that was kind of my look. You know, I always had some kind of, I got a couple things. I had kind of what I call my Elton John, where I had a jacket with piano stuff and stripes and sparkles. That's hanging in Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I got some stuff like that I've passed on to people. But yeah, I like jackets. I was a North Beach leather guy. I had leather jacket, you know, whole leather, complete leather outfits. I loved that stuff when leather was in. So yeah.
Oh yeah, cool. Me too.
It's a nice look. It's a
cool look. It's a cool look.
That's right. It is
a cool look. So you wound up playing keyboard, and tell me the difference real quick, because I just don't know. You know, you've got a piano and you've got an organ, and on stage you would is it a synthesizer?
Yes.
That you used? What's the difference?
Okay. The primary difference between a piano and playing a piano and playing an organ is a piano is more rhythmic. So it's all about rhythm on the piano. On organ, it's longer, you're playing good backgrounds, and you're running like a musical instrument. So that's where my trumpet came in, to combining that with my organ licks. With the synthesizer, one of the things about the synthesizer, which is interesting, is it was really unique on Flat as a Pancake. I bought that in 1970, and I had to help get the franchise because the dealer didn't even have the franchise. So I ordered 2 of them, and you just play one note at a time, so you can just run a melody on the synthesizer. And Riding the Storm Out, the beginning of that,
right?
Well, that's my synthesizer.
Oh, really?
They didn't have one, and so I had to send it down to them. I couldn't get them to send it back to me. So
You're kidding.
I had to call them, go, Neil, I need my synthesizer back. And so every time we run into each other, I go, Neil, my synthesizer's still waiting for some royalty checks.
Did you never get it back?
Oh yeah, I got it back. I got it back in 2 or 3 weeks. Oh no, I wouldn't have let him keep it.
But you never got the checks.
But I never got the checks. That's okay. The story's better than that.
Wow.
But so on the synthesizer, it's monophonic, so you can only play one note at a time. You cannot play chords. And so on the piano, it's like rhythm, da 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 da, and on the organ, it's more big monster chords and running in that. And then I also play some other electronic instruments that are kind of. I'm an analog guy. I'm not a digital sound guy.
Right.
Because digital, to my ears, too tinny. Analog's fuller and richer. So I have a couple of other analog keyboards that I play as well they're chordal that you can do. They're kind of in the vein of an organ. And the other thing about an organ, different than a piano, if you play a B3, you have what's called percussion, which makes the note hit ping and then go off. And that's what you hear on R&B records all the time.
Right.
So you play off the percussion, which then you start getting over it a little more rhythmic. But that's the big difference. I mean, piano's all about, a lot of it's about rhythm, and pounding. So I hope for your viewers and listeners that explains to them, if they ever wondered, the difference between organ and a piano. But the synthesizer is just one note. So the double synthesizer you hear on Flat as a Pancake's multi-track. In the middle of the song where I do the one solo. And that was just an error. We ran it by and I forgot, because back then you mixed standing up at the board. You didn't have computer. That was more fun. That was fun making records. I like that because that was like live. And I forgot to mute one of the synthesizers. And all of a sudden the one synthesizer's playing and then the other one comes in. I go, oh, wow, that's it. So we went back and did the second synthesizer, and that's why they do this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a cool sound.
Yeah, it's very neat. Guys take pictures. Still on the road, people come out and take, road crew guys and band guys come out and take pictures of my synthesizer all the time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's legendary.
Yeah. Well, I guess so, yeah.
I mean, it was one of the first ones ever made. So.
Oh, okay. Wow.
The people down at the Moog place in North Carolina have a picture of it down there.
Wow.
50.
I'm surprised I haven't put your name on them.
It's not my thing.
Huh.
I mean, Moog, and Moogs, the Moogs are different. My Moog, one of the things that makes the really neat sound is the 3 oscillators that are in it are some of the original, back then, a long time ago, oscillators, and they drift. So they don't stay exactly in tune. And that's what gives it that really fat sound.
Oh, okay.
The new models don't do that. They all lock in because they got new oscillators.
Right.
And one time I had to have a little repair work on the road, and I almost never let anybody touch it, but this one guy that worked for me, this guy took out my original oscillators and brought it back, and I lost it. Because I go, what'd you do? He says, oh man, he says, I put these new oscillators in there.
Oh,
and right in it, dude. I go,
no.
You don't have those other 3 oscillators, dude. I'm gonna hang you by your ankles right here from the lanyards. And he still had them. I said, you got about 5 minutes to get them back in there.
Oh yeah.
But that's what makes that sound.
Oh, okay.
It's the sound waves moving in and out. It gives it that really fat sound. You can't. They don't do that in the Moogs today. The digital keyboards today won't do that. They don't sound like that.
Yeah.